Okay, so now we're in Unit 4, Chapter 3, Lesson 3. In this lesson, we're going to work on defining and identifying a percent and converting between percent decimals and fractions. Okay, so let's start. We're going to start off by defining a percent. I'm sorry, my screen got stuck there. So, percent definition. The symbol for a percent is as seen here, and it's read as percent. Percent means per 100 or out of 100. Therefore, 96% means 96 out of 100 or 0.96. So notice the decimal form just makes sure that the 6 is in the hundredths position. Then that way your number is out of 100. The illustration here shows you what it looks like. These are 100 blocks and 96 of those blocks. 96 out of 100 of those blocks are shaded. What percent is represented below? So this is still a 100 chart, and you just count how many are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of 100 are shaded. So as a percent, let's think, what would 9 out of 100 look like? Just 9 out of 100 as a decimal would be 0.09. See, this is the hundredths place. So that's 9 out of 100. Now, as a percent, we would move our decimal, which we'll talk about more later in the lesson. You just move it 2 places to the right because it's like multiplying it by 100. And you would see that this is 9%. 9%. So that kind of gave you an overview of the fraction and changing the fraction to a percent or percent to a fraction and decimal to a percent. But we will talk about it more in depth throughout the lesson. So let's go down here. I love this illustration here. It kind of gives it to you all in one. The decimal, the fraction, the percent. So changing percents to decimal and fraction. So how do we take a percent and change it into the decimal and the fractional form? So a percent is a fraction because it is a part of a whole. You do not have the whole thing. You do not have 100% or all of them. You have portions or a part of that 100. So therefore a percent is a fraction. You simply convert to a fraction by placing it over 100 and then convert to a decimal by dividing the fractional form. So let's take a look at this. We have 25%. So to change it into a fraction, I simply put it over 100 because percent, remember, means out of 100. 25 out of 100. So 25 over 100. Then changing it to a decimal, so out of 100, 100 place value in the hundredth place. So as I stated above, that 25, I know I needed to make it so that it was in the hundredths place. So 0.25. Look at 32%. So remember, percent means out of 100. So this is 32 out of 100. There's your fraction form. Okay, now to change this into a decimal, we take the 32 and it's supposed to be in the hundredths place because it's out of 100. And remember, we don't just simply write 32 alone because that means we have 32 wholes. We do not have any wholes. 32 out of 100 means you don't even have 100. You would need 100 out of 100 in order to have a whole. So therefore, there are no whole parts in this. So you definitely know it's going to be a decimal. So 0.32 is the decimal form of 32%. If we take a look at 0.15, what if they give us the decimal? Well, you simply have to remember place value. Place value is so important. So here's our decimal. Here we would have tenths. So that'd be the first place value after the decimal. And then we would have hundredths. and that would be the second place after the decimal. So 0.15, so here's my decimal, 1, 5. This means 15 out of 100. So now I have my fraction form. And then remember, in order to take this decimal and turn it into a percent, we simply multiply by 100. So if I take that times 100, it will give me 15%. Okay. Here we did the opposite. Remember, you're taking a percent to a decimal, you divide by 100. See, 25 divided by 100. So recall that your fraction bar means divide. It also means division. So 25 divided by 100 gave us this. Whereas if we're going decimal to percent, we multiply by 100. Okay. Now let's scroll down, let's look. Here we have decimal to percent. So as I already stated before, up here, decimal to percent, you simply multiply by 100. What is happening to the decimal when we multiply by 100? And that's the key here. So if I already have a decimal, so here is 0.237. I'm going to show it off to the side here just so you can really see. If I multiply by 100, that is the same as taking your decimal and moving it, so, because I'm changing it into a percent, 2 places to the right. And that's how I'm getting 23.7%. Same thing I did here. I took the decimal, 1, 2 places to the right. That's how you get 15%. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. I'll do this one and you do the last two. Oh, you know what? Instead of that one, I'll do this one because this looks a little more challenging. So 0.2. I want to change this into a percent. So I simply multiply by 100. And when I multiply by 100, that's the same as taking my decimal and moving it 2 places to the right. So as you can see, it turns into 20%. So 0.2 is the same as 20%. Okay, let's scroll down and let's look at how to take a fraction and change it into a percent. So I kind of already stated this. So in this little chart here, our fraction, changing it into a percent. Okay, so in order to do that, we'll first convert it into a decimal. And because these fractions are not out of 100, you want to change it into a decimal first. So you can't simply say 25% because it's not already out of 100. So we'll divide to get our decimal, and then we're going to multiply by 100 to get our percent. Those are the steps. So let me scroll down. So convert fraction to decimal. This is through division. And then multiply by 100 to get your percent. That's what you do. 3 divided by 5. So 5 goes into 3. Well, 5 won't go into 3. That's why we had to bring our decimal. And then add a 0. 5 goes into 36 times. Make sure you brought your decimal up so you can see that that's 0.6. And there's no remainder. So 0.6 is your decimal of 3 over 5. Now if I multiply this by 100, 0.6 times 100 is the same thing as moving the decimal 2 places to the right. And that's how we're getting 60%. Okay, let's try, let's do 6 over 7. So to get the decimal, we have to divide 7 into 6. Well, 7 doesn't go into 6. Okay, but 7 will go into 60. Let's think here. How many times will 7 go into 60? 7 times 8 is 56. So let's do 8. And now let's subtract that value, 60 minus 56, which is 4. Now how many times, we know 7 doesn't go into 4, we have to bring another 0. we have to think, how many times will 7 go into 40? 7 will go into 40 at least 5 times, because that's 35. So that leaves 40, take away 35, leaves 5 over. So this decimal is going out pretty far. How many times will 7 go into 50? At least 7 times, because 7 times 7 is 49. And that leaves 1 left over. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a subtraction sign. Bring down another 0. And truthfully, we've taken the decimal out far enough, but I'll just see how far this goes. 7 goes into 10 only 1 time. And that leaves 3 left over. And it looks like this is going out pretty far. 37 will go into 37 times. 4, 28. And so this is going on and on and on, because 7's not going to go into 20. We can really stop after the third one. So let me see here. Our decimal is 0.857. We don't have to keep going for any further than that. Let me erase this so I have room. So 0.857 times 100. When we multiply by 100, you move your decimal 2 places to the right. So this is approximately 85.7%. So notice how sometimes if a decimal is going on and on and on, you need to kind of use your rounding and estimating skills in order to terminate that decimal and round your solution. You can go ahead and try the second and third one. After you're done, make sure you check in with your teacher. This is the completion of this lesson. I want to draw your attention to the classwork. You're going to have page 140, A, 1 through 6. And then page 141, you're going to do A, 1 through 10. On page 143, A, 1 through 5, and B, 1 through 6. Page 144, C, 1 through 10. And then page 145, D, 1 through 5. Page 146, E1 through AR. And then there is an online practice there for you as well. Don't forget to look at the videos throughout the lesson as needed. These are helpful videos. And this is the completion of Unit 4, Chapter 3, Lesson 3, Defining and Identifying Percents, Converting Between Percent, Decimals, and Fractions.